Hello and welcome back to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here we have the out of spec Plaid. As you guys know, this car has been driven hard and quite literally put away wet. It's had a hard life with the 43,000 miles it's had on it, but today it's getting a new lease on life. This is really version 2 of the Model S Plaid, where we're gonna be doing some very cool upgrades to this car, including a fresh new look to it. So we have my friend Eric from Drive Protected here, and he is going to be installing a full satin black paint protection film on our Plaid. And I think this thing is going to look absolutely stunning. So welcome back and let's jump into it. Welcome back. This is my friend Eric from Drive Protected, all the way from Canada. So first off, thanks so much for coming down here, and thank you for giving our Plaid a new lease on life. Eric has a very cool, unique company that actually produces DIY paint protection film kits for Tesla, and I love the way you do things. You're very much like me. You're OCD, Nerd Level 9000. So tell me a little bit about your product, how that works, how customers find you, and everything in between.
Yeah, so we sell do-it-yourself paint protection film kits for Teslas. Only Teslas at the moment, like Colton just said. And what we do that's different from all the other competitors on the market is we don't just cut the film, ship it to you, and wish you all the best. We actually cut the film, which is designed with a do-it-yourself installer, the person who's never touched paint protection film before. We actually make our kits designed for those people, and we send them the kit, and then we also have got an entire video series, step-by-step, from how to wash the car, how to prep the car for the installation, as well as how to install each panel for every single Tesla model. We have a dedicated step-by-step video on how to take the customer through that from start to finish, and then finishing up with how to post-heat the edges to make sure that paint protection film stays on, how to pop any moisture bubbles, that type of thing, and then also how to take care of the paint protection film long-term. So in a nutshell, that is who we are and what we do.
It's really cool watching this process, and to be totally transparent with you, I was a little skeptical. Like, I've been, certified XPEL installer. Paint protection film, to me, is an absolute art form. People who do it the right way, I mean, it is a highly technical challenge to do. Teslas are definitely one of the easiest cars to do PPF, to do vinyl on, because they're kind of split up in panels. They're not crazy with, vents and curves and this and that. But I have witnessed Eric doing PPF on many of vehicles. Brandon Tesla Flex's Model 3 Performance, you guys did that full kit. It actually took you a while, I think, for filming content last year. What I was most impressed with, though, was this week. And you came in, did Brandon's brand new launch series, new refresh Model Y in one day with your kit.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, even Brandon, did a lot of the film on it, and it's amazing how nice the cars can look. Now, the cool thing with your kits is you can either protect it with clear paint protection film, or you can actually go to a satin film. This is becoming incredibly popular.
Oh yeah.
Rivian has been doing this. They're, in conjunction with XPEL selling this. They often give it for free on brand new vehicles, to where you can make, any color Rivian look stealth, and it gives the car a very unique, cool look. So when you did Brandon's Quicksilver Model Y, it looks incredible. It just gives this really rich depth and clarity to the paint that, man, I absolutely love. So the Plaid here, this thing, 43,000 miles on it. It's had a hard life. Yes. Man, this car has had a hard life. So if you guys don't remember, this is actually the car that our friend and colleague Jordan actually put onto a curb, broke a bunch of stuff. This car has been on multiple cross-country races, race to Vegas, I-90 Surge, all of the fun stuff. And honestly, this car doesn't really get maintained really how it should. Now, I have actually done multiple different cut, polish, ceramic coating jobs on this car. Reality is, Kyle doesn't have time to hand wash his cars all the time. I don't have, time to wash his cars every single week. So this car's really had a rough life, to say the least. So one of the things that Eric and I were talking about when Kyle was talking about doing a kind of new lease on life on this car. So if you guys don't know what we're actually doing, Kyle has purchased track pack for this car. I think he is not doing the 0G wheels, but we are putting on the full carbon ceramic brakes on this, which will be insane. It sounds like we're going to be doing the seat upgrade to the new Plaid sport seats, which will look incredible. And really, I think the most important thing to kind of top this car off is doing a satin black paint protection film on this. Now, the reason we're doing this in satin black rather than satin clear is because of all the rock chips on this car. There are quite literally areas on this car where paint is missing.
Yep.
Again, this car has literally been on gravel roads, things like that. Soft Tesla black paint here. There's a lot of areas that need some serious love. So our concern, as Eric and I were talking here, was that a lot of these rock chips would be magnified if we were to put satin paint protection film on it. And we got talking, I was like, dude, why don't we do a colored PPF? It's gonna mask all those. You may still see a few things here and there. I'm curious to see what it looks like once you get it on. So have you done many of these satin black films on cars, or are you normally just doing satin film alone?
So I'm primarily just doing satin paint protection film. I have wrapped a number of Cybertrucks in our satin black film, and I used to have a 2022 Ford F-150, which I actually did a full color change wrap on it, and that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it looked sick.
Yeah.
Especially with the upgraded wheels and leveling kit and that type of thing, which I had done to the vehicle. But yeah, it is so much more work and so much more intense to wrap than a Cybertruck.
Sure. Yeah, Cybertrucks seem relatively easy. I mean, there's still a level of learning and expertise, of course, that goes behind it. You know, getting edges properly wrapped on Cybertrucks can be very challenging. So I'm very anxious to see not only the transformation, but kind of some of the issues you may see with this car. The thing that always pops up to me is, you know, you're going to be doing largely bulk wrapping on this. I mean, you've got somewhat templates on this car, but that are overextended, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I took our standard paint protection film patterns that we get, and I actually use core cutting software for those of you that are somewhat familiar with the PPF window tint world. I took the standard core pattern and I added an extra inch all the way around on all the panels. And then, for example, the hood and the rear hatch, we're going to be doing those bulk because it's such a large sheet of film that it's just so much easier to do if you're not trying to line up an edge, that type of thing. Just put a big sheet of film over it and then go from there.
Okay. So. Yeah, interesting. And I know one of Kyle's, you know, main concerns with this is he doesn't want gloss showing on the car, which totally makes sense.
Yep.
So Eric's going to do his absolute best to wrap as many edges as possible. We'll talk about where it's possible, where it's not possible. I'm really anxious to see this process. But before we start this, I want to walk around the car and just show you some of the damage this car has had over the past 43,000 miles. I think Eric and I's feeling on this is I'm surprised it doesn't have a 1 in front of that, being 143,000 miles.
Yeah.
It is, pretty rough. But again, we use our cars. These are cars that go on road trips. They go out in the winter. You know, these cars are really, like I said, driven hard, put away wet. So let's jump into it. So Eric has actually already been here for the last couple of hours cleaning up the Plaid, because really one of the main things that I don't think most people understand with installing film is you have to have a very, very clean car. All the edges, door jambs. When you're spraying all your slip solution in there, if you have dirt and grime, that's all going to pull out of those areas and actually get into your install, making it look pretty terrible. So you've washed this car, clayed this car, cleaned out all the jams. Anything else you've done so far?
No, I just got really, really thorough with scrubbing all the edges once I was done washing and claying it. I've actually done a full foam wash on it 3 times already.
Holy smokes.
So, yeah, and now I would say it's as close to bare naked paint as you can possibly get.
Okay.
I know you ceramic coated it at one point in time.
Yep.
And that ceramic coating is pretty much gone.
Yeah, I think
It's showing a little bit of life, but not much. Not enough to affect the PPF from going on here.
It is pretty much completely gone from the last time I did a wash on this car. And that's really because this car doesn't get washed all the time and stuff just sits on it. If you guys don't know, I just recently did a video talking about, ceramic coatings and the reality of them. They are maintenance. You do still have to maintain your car. These are not magic snake oil potions that you throw on your car. You never have to wash it again. You still need to get the crap off of it. Colorado is one of the most interesting environments because we genuinely have all 4 seasons, and our winters can be incredibly harsh, especially in the mountains. They salt our roads. They put mag chloride on the roads. They are very treacherous. So if you're not willing to keep your car maintained, my personal opinion is don't ceramic coat it or throw full film on it, or I don't know, don't do anything. That's kind of in between. So if you are willing to maintain it, sure, a ceramic coating could be a great option for you. If you're wanting to do full PPF and full transparency, to do a car like this at a shop is unbelievably expensive. Oh, yeah. I'm assuming $9,000 to $10,000 to kind of do what we're doing today.
I bet you the average across all of North America would probably be around that $9,000 mark.
Yeah, that's kind of my feelings as well. So unbelievably expensive, but I really think it's going to make a huge difference here. So run me through a little bit of what you've noticed so far here on the front.
So we'll get to the front bumper next, but we'll start here on the hood. You can see white specks all over the hood.
Sandblasted.
Yeah.
It even comes through even more on camera than it does in person.
Yeah, and you got some right over here on the leading edge. Those are the absolute worst. This is why you wrap your edges when you do a PPF installation, is to prevent that. You got rock chips all the way on the top of the hood. And then there's all kinds of like microchips which they've gone through the top coat, but they haven't gone down to the actual base metal of the vehicle. And that's what you see a lot of.
Yep.
The front bumper's got all kinds of bug etching. It's just blasted with rock chips and pitting. Now, these front bumpers, they are plastic. So when you do get a big rock chip, you're not going to get something like this where you see some bare metal.
Right.
They don't chip. They actually end up getting pitted, which in some cases can actually be worse. Underneath the front bumper over there, which
I don't see if I can see this here.
It feels like a cheese grater down over here. Like, it is insane how much damage there is underneath there. So wrapping underneath there that's gonna pose a bit of an issue, but we'll get it done.
Yeah, that's one question I had for you and we were talking about was areas like that. And this is actually pretty common on Teslas, that a lot of these lower areas just get completely destroyed. My assumption what you're going to do here is kind of go for not full coverage underneath there, because if you would go all the way under there, it's just going to lift and make it look really bad. So you're probably going to cut that pretty short, ensuring that you're going to have good adhesion there so that it's not lifting basically down the road. So yeah, front bumper, honestly, looking at it, it looks decent, but that's because it's kind of soft material. The metal parts really cause that paint to just quickly chip. This, if you don't know, solid black Tesla paint is one of the worst paints in the world to maintain. I still say every time I get, a customer calling me, oh, I bought a solid black Tesla, I'm just like, this is going to be a super fun job. These things are like literally polishing warm melted butter. The paint is unbelievably soft on these and just can scratch if you do anything. I feel like if you look at these cars wrong, they scratch. So having that satin black film on here to where, we can quickly, easily wash it will be very, very nice. One of the other areas that's just crazy to me is this.
Inside this wheel well, right over here. So there's almost no paint. And now, in full transparency and full honesty, one of the things in the paint protection film industry and vinyl wrap industry, which is usually a no-no, is using edge prep, adhesion promoter. I honestly don't know how else that we're going to get the film to stick there.
Yeah.
We're going to have to use it there.
I think that's really from going down gravel roads right there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. I've been in this car going down gravel roads and hearing rocks just hit the paint, and I died definitely a little bit inside hearing it for sure.
Yeah, and it's pretty much just gone. So that unfortunately is something we're going to have to do to ensure the film sticks there.
Sure.
But yeah,
Okay, let's keep going around here. So a lot of these, what I'm, looking at here is, big areas like this with the huge Tesla panel gaps. I mean, these are truly massive. How far into this are you actually going to go?
I'm going to go in as far as I possibly can with the squeegee to
Okay.
make sure that I can get as much coverage in there as possible. Because yeah, with as big as these gaps are, we want to minimize as much gloss as possible.
But it is nice that we're starting with gloss black and not, gloss white, because that would be a disaster. All the door jambs you would see, it would you'd have to go really deep into there.
Yeah.
Even crazy like areas like this that are still have raw paint in this. Are you going to try and go all the way down there?
Yep. I'm going to do my very best to get as far down there as possible. We might have to use some relief cuts, which is very common in wrapping, to make that possible, but that's the goal.
Cool. So one of the things I know Kyle wanted to do on this was leave some areas actually gloss black. So areas like underneath this mirror trim here on the sides, all of this, the door handles, we're actually going to leave gloss black. It's going to give, I think, a really nice accent to this car and look extremely nice. Rockers were an area down here you were telling me you're a little concerned with. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so after we were done clay barring it, I'll actually show you right over here. This is what the clay bar looked like after just claying the rockers. So I don't know how much the PPF is going to stick underneath there.
Okay.
So if we come down over here, the way the rocker is it comes down till here and then it curves and goes much further in there. I think what we're going to do is we're going to stay right in line with this line over here.
Yep.
And then I think that'll be perfectly fine. We won't run into any issues with the film lifting.
Yeah, and you're not going to see it from here. I mean, if you lay on the floor, you're going to see gloss paint under there, but you're never going to see this standing next to the car, driving behind it, anything like that. This area also is an area on Model S's that do get destroyed. Kyle has also been running a very stancy boy wheel and tire setup on this. Some pretty sticky tires on this. So this area has definitely gotten pretty beat up, to say the least.
It's sandblasted.
Yeah.
This rear fender is the worst. It does have this factory PPF, so this will look pretty interesting when we pull this off.
Yep.
You'll see how the PPF will have protected that.
Dude, look at how blasted even that PPF is there.
And then if you look over here on the rear door, because the rear door flares out a little bit, it's going to take a lot of that oncoming rock damage as well too. And both sides are pretty much like that as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Holy cow. That's just crazy. I mean, I'm honestly shocked to what that PPF looks like. I mean, this car is, I guess, 3 years old now, 43,000 miles. So that would be the case of, after a period of time, there are panels still with paint protection film that you're going to need to replace eventually if you want it to look nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen actually what this satin black film looks like when it does get rock chips at all?
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
But it is a black film. So I think if it's going to go right through, obviously you're going to see what's underneath there. But I haven't seen too terribly much damage on the satin black film. I'm really
curious to see how this plays out with this car. If it's going to crack the film, if it's just going to make an impression in it and still look nice. The technology of the films have really transformed over the last couple of years, coming out with different colors, coming out with, I've seen some that I think Spec does that makes it incredibly sparkly and you can put it over different colors. Film technology is getting really interesting, I think, for sure.
Most definitely.
So another area you were telling me you're a little concerned with is under here.
Underneath the front bumper over here, or the rear bumper. This is probably the hardest part of the rear bumper to do. Just because it goes down so far underneath there. And I think with the oversized pattern, there shouldn't be a problem getting that to lay down in there.
Okay.
But it is not going to be super easy.
Okay. I even mentioned to Eric, maybe one of the interesting things could be in some of the super high impact areas, potentially doing a tear off portion, which that may actually help you with the install. Maybe, I don't know. You're the PPF master, but I do think some of these areas, just depending on what they're going to look like, it'd be nice to just have a section of film we could strip off and it's going to look perfect underneath there. Well, let's kind of see how that plays out.
Yep.
So back here, obviously need to pull the rear spoiler off because you're going to do this in essentially one piece here, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. And I think this is the only other area we're going to leave gloss black here. This whole kind of diffuser section, I think will look really nice, leaving gloss black as well. Give it some really nice contrast instead of just the entire thing being one Satin Black blob.
Yeah, most definitely.
Cool. So you've got your work cut out for you. You've literally got 3 days to do this.
Yeah, 3 days to do it.
Holy. So Eric's got a lot of work. I'm working on a project. So we're going to film some things of this. I'm not going to show you every single panel. Eric's going to have some content on his channel. So he's going to like really go into depth showing you how to install each panel or quite a few of these panels. So I'll definitely leave those videos and his channel linked in the description below. So I'm going to let Eric get to work. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. I cannot wait to see this car fully satin black, new wheels. Actually, if you guys didn't know, we are putting on new MW05s. I actually think Kyle is going satin gunmetal is the latest I've heard. I was told he was going gloss black. Don't think we could get gloss black, so I think now he's going satin gunmetal, so very similar to these Arachnid wheels. By the way, Kyle, why are you curbing your wheels? Just kidding, he bought them like this. He bought them used for a cheap winter set, so had to just say that. All right, Eric, get to it.
You bet.
So Eric is underway here, so of course he's already went through, washed the entire car. Eric, now what are you doing here after you've washed, clayed, got it kind of prepped? Is this kind of the last step?
Yeah, so now I have some 91% isopropyl alcohol, and what this is doing is it's just removing any kind of wax or grease or oils off the top of the paint.
Okay.
But you can definitely tell the ceramic coating is basically gone, because on a ceramic coated vehicle, the alcohol disappears almost right away.
Yep.
So, and then you can see we even have a little bit of tree sap over here, which is starting to come off with rubbing it. So,
holy. Yeah, some of the other spots we were finding was like this. These are actually from trees here, as I just touched this, as he already wiped it down.
That's okay.
All of these little parts here, actually like these little tree seeds that fell onto the hood of the car and kind of baked on there for months.
yeah.
Didn't get those off, and yeah, that's what happens. They get totally etched.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. So all the edges, Eric will go around, clean those, and then he's going to get the first panel laid, being the hood. I am so excited to see this. So after Eric's done the isopropyl alcohol, he's now spraying it down with his slip solution. He's going to come in here and wipe it all down with the squeegee. What's the idea behind this, Eric?
So this is done just before you start your install, and what this does is it helps remove any dust or debris that may have been in the air that will have landed on the paint. More often than not, nothing usually lands on the paint. But
Just kind of an insurance policy, if you will. Cool.
It's much easier to take care of something now as opposed to finding a hair in the middle of the hood once you're done the installation, because then it's going to get tricky removing it.
Yep, for sure.
And I'm going to stick the PPF down to the dry spot that I just created on the hood. And then with one hand, I want to take the liner and just back roll the film into place. Now, before I get going, I need to take and lift the PPF up and get a bunch of slip solution underneath the film. So I'm spraying down the panel, and I'm also spraying down the adhesive. The more slip solution you have, the better. If you're wondering the dimensions of the film, this is a 60-inch roll, and I cut it at 80 inches at length. This gives me a bunch of excess material to work with for stretching, as well as wrapping edges. What I'm going to do is I've left myself I got about an inch of material past the back corner of the hood, which is exactly what you want. Before I do my stretch, I'm going to spray down the adhesive of the film, spray down the panel, and I'm going to stretch right across the film just enough that these fingers lay down. There we go. That's good. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tack down the front. 2 hands on the film. Just do a careful stretch so everything lays down. And then stick the film in place. And there we go. Now we're ready to start squeegeeing. What I'm going to do one last time is get more slip solution on top of the film. Now I'm just going to take my hand, and what I'm doing is I'm pushing out all these big giant air bubbles, which will prevent the PPF from sticking. I thought I heard something lifting up here. We'll do couple passes down the middle, and then we'll do a pass down the back of the hood. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right along this body line down to the front. That's good. Now we can pull all this out the front. Always making sure to overlap squeegee strokes. This is going to prevent all kinds of left behind moisture from staying behind underneath the film. Now over here, what I need to do is I need to grab my knife, trim off this excess so I can get all this down. But before I do that, I'll take care of this on passenger side. So take my hand, get these big giant air pockets out from underneath the film. We'll come along the back here. There we go. And then we're going to go down along this body line all the way out the front. Now we're going to start at the back, and we're just going to overlap squeegee strokes and start pushing everything down. Perfect.
Eric, I get the impression you're kind of fired up.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Dude, this looks insane. And the crazy thing to me is even like some of these edges, okay, sure, like if you're really close, you can kind of make that out. But dude, this totally transformed this, to say the least. And hid so much of it.
Yeah, we had like a couple little pimples like here and here, but like I can't really see anything else. And I was really looking for that while I was squeegeeing, so.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it looks good.
It literally like feels like a new car now.
Yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start trimming off a bunch of the excess material and then allow the film a little bit more time to dry out on the edges before I wrap them. But I would say this is looking really good. Mr. Connor should be very happy.
Holy smokes, man. The finish on this is just, I love it. So this is, again, I don't think we actually mentioned this. This is your own film, right? This is your Defense Plus film?
Yep. Yeah, we worked directly with a PPF manufacturer to develop this film. And it's hydrophobic, so it's like it's got similarities of a ceramic coating built into it, but obviously not a ceramic coating. And It's silky smooth. It's fun to work with.
So does that challenge you anymore when installing with, like, especially on doors and things like that, when you're spraying your slip solution on the top and it's kind of dripping off? Does that play any factor into your install?
I haven't noticed anything.
Okay, because one of the things that I always struggled with when I was doing XPEL, at the time, of course, those had no coatings in the film, so you'd spray a bunch of slip on there, but then you'd need to move it, and your hand was like slipping all over the film, and then you need to dry it off, and then you have to respray. It's just like, it's a complicated process to really get dialed in.
Yeah, having the hydrophobic top coats built in, I think will allow for an easier time installing the film.
So actually kind of make it easier to install. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Dude, this looks unbelievable. I can't wait to see this whole car done.
Now it's time to do the edges. So if
all the fun.
I got to make that look good for it to really look good. So
hell yeah.
Let's get to it.
Well, guys, Eric is making some serious progress here already, and honestly, we can't believe the results. So he's knocked the entire hood out, and you can see how nice this actually looks. There's still a few edges he's waiting to get down, some of these back edges back here. But again, just want to bring you in close here. Some of these small little rock chips, it is unbelievable how much this PPF hides. If you were to do this with vinyl wrap, you would see a lot more of these. Now, he's already actually knocked out a few other pieces. Like I said, we're not going to film the entire thing here, but he's already got all of this A-pillar done. So again, the idea of having the contrast of some of the piano black areas, I think is going to look so sharp. Look how nicely he's tucked all this in here. This whole piece has been done. Still a few bubbles that you'll see here that will work themselves out, but dang. Amazing work going on here. Eric is pumped with it. You can see how well he's done wrapping it in there. So none of the gloss is exposed. Now, he has also done one of the front fenders here, and dang, this already looks incredible. You can really get an idea of how amazing this car is going to look. So one of the things that we were talking about was this down here. If you remember how rock chipped this actually was. Now what we did is we put a little piece of film down here. As you can see how poorly this looks, like almost no paint on it. So what Eric's actually ended up doing here, putting a piece of film there, getting it down, cutting it right on the edge, and then he puts the entire fender over. So that's gonna, one, give a little bit more protection there, but it also hides a lot more of those rock chips. One of the issues we were having with, as I put a little piece down there, is anytime you needed to maneuver it, it was actually pulling more paint up, which would create a install that looks like you got a bunch of dirt in it. So this alleviated a lot of issues here, and I want to show you here what this actually looks like. Now again, some of these edges aren't fully done, but you can see what that actually looks like. You can see barely that seam right there, but he left it right on the body line, and it looks incredible. So pumped with this. Eric is doing genuinely a fantastic job. He's outside right now, and huge props to Eric. He is absolutely killing this. I'm pumped for him. I can't believe how much nicer this car looks. This car is genuinely gonna look brand new after this full film is done. Now, one of the interesting points I want to make, we actually put a piece of film back here. We can probably redo it again just with his normal matte or satin film on here that's clear. You see every single rock chip through it. So again, that's the reason we've actually done the black colored paint protection film here. If you look up here, you can actually see what it looks like. So this is one of his, not necessarily kits, but this is like a pattern that he's made out, and he extends all of the edges to make sure he can get, you know, better coverage in areas like this, down into areas like this, so you're not seeing a bunch of gloss here. So he's doing a little bit of a hybrid format, if you will. Over here, he was doing a full bulk wrap. And again, as somebody's probably seeing over there, he is using some prep on it, some corner prep on certain areas, especially down here like this, because we want to ensure this is going to last. So ideally, this is not something you really want to do using edge prep and stuff like that. But in this particular case, with this car in this condition, to make this wrap look the best for a longer period of time, this is really what you got to do here. But man, I am just absolutely thrilled with the work Eric is doing here. You can see he's already got these edges almost all the way down, and they look absolutely incredible. So no gloss through there, and dang, it just looks silky, silky smooth. So the next couple of panels here, I'm gonna have him kind of do some time lapses so you guys can just watch Eric work. It is really impressive. You know, myself as a detailer, I have huge appreciation for guys who honestly give a crap about their installs in paint protection film, and Eric is one of those guys that actually does care. And it's really kind of, to me, it's very fun to watch, but it's also just like watching somebody create, you know, and mold a piece of film to a panel. It's very artistic to me, and it's really high level problem solving when you start thinking about it. I was watching Eric in this area earlier start to push water out this way, which was causing bubbles, and you can see his brain working. Is like, oh, we need to go this way. So it's just a full learning process with paint protection film, with detailing. You never stop learning, and I love having people who really are proud of their craft, and I can feel it from Eric here that he's extremely proud of what he does, and he's putting his best effort to give the Plaid a really new life here. So let's jump into covering some more panels. This already looks insane. Well, you guys have missed quite a few clips here, but Eric has been quite literally busting his ass, technical term here, of course, and he has actually finished the Model S. There was actually quite a few panels that we didn't show. Eric actually has kind of a full tutorial on quite a few panels that he did here. So if you're interested in how to do a certain section over on his channel at Drive Protected, he'll run you through some of those. Eric, you absolutely killed this. It looks genuinely like a brand new car.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Insane. So I want to walk you guys through, show you what the wrap actually looks like here. Again, PPF, not vinyl wrap. We'll talk a little bit about that too, of why this was the right way to go. How long did you spend on this? I know you totaled it up.
So 33 hours total from the time I started washing to the time I took the last needle out, popping the last bubble. So it was 33 hours. And the best part about it was, for everybody else except for me, is I spent 7 of them on the front bumper.
Oh my God.
It was horrible. Horrible. And I never want to do it again.
So front bumper here, pitted, lots of rock chips. I came in, I worked really late the night before. Eric showed up very early and started working on this. I came in and it looked like he had just ran a marathon, and I can completely understand this front bumper. So talk me through what made it so challenging. Is it the curve of it? Is it that the bumper was just trashed?
So the thing that made it take so long was, well, number one, we're going for complete coverage. The aim is to make sure that we're wrapping every possible edge, as opposed to a clear wrap where you just go up to the edge. You don't go past the edge. Going past the edge, that takes considerably more time. Not just only that, the fact that it has almost 50,000 miles or whatever the number is.
43,000, which should be 143,000.
Yeah. There's so much sandblasting, rock pit or rock damage, pitting, scratches, gouging, everything that you can think of. Embedded bug guts, bug etching, that type of stuff. Stuff that we couldn't get off with the clay bar. And quite literally, this area underneath here, just feeling the wrap, it literally feels like sandpaper.
Wow. And there's still a few little air pockets there. I'm sure you guys probably saw those. Those will, especially next week, we're going to have some nice weather. So I want Kyle to have this car sit outside, kind of off-gas a lot of that stuff, and really, like Eric said, bake this wrap in. But dude, holy smokes. I cannot believe how little you can see under this. And we again did some testing. We didn't put it actually on camera, but if you would have done just your normal stealth on this, it would have looked terrible.
Yeah.
You could see every single rock chip underneath.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against the film. It's just, you know, it's opaque if you do it in the stealth type variant. So you're naturally going to see everything underneath there. It hit a few things for sure, but every little rock chip. This to me though is the most impressive, because this was the worst area here for sure.
So we double stacked the PPF over here, and what we ended up doing was we ended up putting a small piece in here at first, and we installed that dry so it had a good bond to whatever paint was left. And then we actually ended up wrapping over top of that. That way, should there get any damage on there, we're able to replace that if we want to.
Cool. Because one of the big issues we started seeing with this is if you put the film on there, pulled it off, it was actually pulling paint on it as it chipped. So that's one of the tricky things. If you guys don't know with this, like if you have severe damage on your car, especially you see this a lot more with vinyl wrap, because PPF inherently is installed differently. You can move it around. When you stick vinyl, you have to pull it back up. And if you have rock damage like that, you're just picking up all that debris and then sticking it back on the panel. It creates a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, and it ends up actually ruining the wrap too, because the stuff gets stuck to the paint and you're never going to, stuck to the adhesive of the film, and you're never going to end up properly removing it again.
Yeah, insane. So let's walk through here a little bit. Eric did amazing job getting all of the gloss black areas around here. Dude, his edges are incredible. I mean, full coverage all the way around there. And that's what honestly takes the most amount of time. If you watch some of the videos of Eric actually installing PPF, really the easy part is getting it on the panel. It's all the trimming, it's all the post heating, it's all making sure your edges are properly down. And I would arguably say that's the most important part to actually installing a good, successful wrap that's gonna last a long time.
100%, totally. I think the time, let's say for the hood, for example, it probably took me 15 minutes to install it. I probably spent at least 20 minutes just post-heating, wrapping the edges, making sure that everything is good to go. So that's every single panel. I mean, I didn't spend 14 hours on the front bumper, which took me 7 hours to install. But all these other panels, it literally takes just as long, if not longer, to actually post-heat and make sure that those panels are down properly.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So this front bumper, you did have to do a few things here. So you actually kind of split it, I guess, into 4 different sections. So the main part of the bumper here, I know this was kind of what you would call an inlay or overlay, and then this lip here as well.
Yeah, so the main part of the bumper kind of goes above the fog light and then around over there, and then kind of comes underneath.
Damn, I could barely see the seam here that you did.
What we ended up doing over here is we ended up putting up a second piece over here because there's so much damage underneath there that the film, there's just so much tension on it that the paint could not, or the adhesive could not actually like bond to the paint. So what I ended up doing is we did a relief cut right over here, pulled it off, and put a whole separate piece in over here and then wrapped it underneath.
Love it. I think it looks great. It's smart the way Eric does things too, to, you know, like he's got experience with film, and that's one thing I always talk about with PPF is to have somebody who understands things like that, because I think a lot of guys would try and just force the film in there, and then naturally you're going to have failure points.
Yeah.
That just comes with experience and knowing what the hell you're doing, honestly.
That's what a lot of PPF shops do actually, is they'll quickly get the film onto the vehicle, they'll do a little bit of post-heating, jam that film in there, and then I'll send it out the door, and then that's how film pops up.
Yep. And then, you know, 6 months, a year later, whatever it may be, that film is going to pull back. You get dirt under there and it's destroyed. And then you're having to replace panels, and it just becomes an absolute nightmare. One of the areas I'm most impressed with that you did here, I think I may have talked about this earlier, is this leading edge. I know you were actually telling Kyle that you were concerned about this because number one, you want full coverage around that door, but you are also worried about it sticking to the backside. Dude, you can't even tell. It looks fully wrapped around. It looks great.
So what I ended up doing over there was I took a little bit of edge prep and I just put a little bit along this front edge of the door.
Yep.
And then when I started my installation, because PPF is so flexible, you can stretch it quite a bit. I started over here and I actually brought the film about 1/8 of an inch past and then did my installation that way. Once this edge was completely dried out, I took the heat gun to it, was able to wrap it, and I got complete coverage. There's no gloss showing, and with the edge prep there, it should never lift.
Yeah, it ain't going anywhere. And for example here, don't mind the dirty car. Kyle, please clean your car. Just had to say that. Eric's been saying that all week. But like the edges here, you don't even see the seam. I mean, it is so nice and tucked away. I really appreciate watching Eric do this. He's very methodical with it. His work ethic is truly incredible, and he is very proud of the craft he does. And I know he was anxious about this car, and he'd been sweating it for a little bit. The first panel he put on, though, both of us were like, dude, this is going to be insane.
It's gonna be a fun time.
Mirrors, you did an incredible job on here as well.
So what I did with the mirrors, and I'll actually pull the mirror back, is normally you can't do these mirrors in one piece because it's asking too much of the film. So what I ended up doing was I did a small piece in over here, and you can kind of see right over here the line.
Yep, where that went to.
Yep. And then what I ended up doing after that was I came around over here and I wrapped it onto the inside of the mirror.
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that.
It's got complete coverage there. And then what I ended up doing was the main piece, I stretched it over this body line, and you can't even see the edge of it. I went just a little bit past, so it's like just an overlay. And then, yeah, I was able to get the film to lay down on the inside there.
Wow.
And I would say, personally, I feel like that's probably one of the best mirrors I've ever done.
That looks great. Absolutely great. Apologize for the Model S continually opening here. This is an interesting area too. I'll show you guys on the other side as well. These were completely rashed and you can't even tell. The film hid all of it. And again, this going back to, you know, with this car, I was considering even maybe we just do a vinyl wrap on it instead of paint protection film. You would see every single small little rock chip because inherently PPF is a lot thicker, so it's going to hide a lot more of that. And the cool thing, again, going back to this, a lot of the times when you do clear PPF over rock chips, it actually creates this like little air pocket and almost makes it stand out more.
Yeah.
Going with the black was the best decision we made in this entire thing.
Oh, 100%. And thankfully on the vehicle, there were no massive rock chips, because a bigger rock chip, we probably would have seen it through the film a lot more. Everything was just really small, but there were so many of them.
There's a lot of it. Gravel roads. That's what happens when you take, you know, Tesla solid black or any other paint genuinely down, you know, gravel roads that are just going to absolutely trash it. I know you were telling me you had a very tricky experience back here.
Yes. So if you're familiar with doing any kind of vinyl or paint protection film wrapping, you know that to get this rear hatch into one piece, you have to basically stick the film down on the rear fender, stretch it like crazy so it takes the shape of this rear hatch, and then squeegee it down. And that's exactly what I did. And I'll actually have a video of it on our channel that you guys can watch. You guys will find some entertainment in that. But what ended up happening was when I did my cut, I wasn't really paying attention to how far or how close to the rear hatch I was. But with all the tension on the film, I did my cut right over here. And as soon as I pulled the knife out, the film just started to pull back, and it pulled back to about here. So what I ended up doing was I had to lift the film up back to about here and stretch it into place to get it wrapped. Now, paint protection film, this film is 8 mil thick. I would wager to guess this area, it's probably 2 to 3 mils thick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really? Because of that much stretching. The cool thing, and one thing Kyle was concerned about, and we didn't see it all, was, you know, a lot of the time with vinyl, and I believe this as well, if you get it to the point you overstretch it, you actually change the color. This is something you see a lot in vinyl because of just the way they put actual color into it. If you overstretch it, it kind of distorts it. So like, think about taking a red vinyl and you really stretch it out. It's gonna make it pink and kind of splotchy in certain areas. I don't see any of that here. It's really cool. So this really has been, I guess, one of your major big colored PPF jobs you've done. What are your feelings about doing colored PPF? Are you more interested in doing it in the future, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely do more of it in the future. Now that I've done this instead of just Cybertrucks, this kind of like was a bit of a confidence booster that, okay, you know, we can get like 99% coverage on colored PPF without having to take the whole car apart. You know, on this car, we only took the window trims off and the side cameras on the front fenders. Everything else was just, we kept it on. So it's definitely very doable. I will say this though, the Model S, it does have quite large panel gaps. If we come look, if we come look over here at the A-pillar, normally on a Model 3 and Model Y, you would never be able to wrap the PPF in there. You'd have to stop right at the edge. But here, there's such a nice gap that we can tuck the film in there, and it just looks so good.
And even all the way through here, Eric went in and actually put it behind that rubber there, so it just looks absolutely fresh. Dude, I'm so impressed genuinely with what you did. This car literally got a new lease on life. I am so pumped to see this car with the new MW05s we're putting on this car, some more aggressive wheels. We're getting the carbon ceramic brakes on this, probably the new sport seats. And yeah, we're gonna have a pretty fresh looking Plaid now. Let's hope now it doesn't see any sort of curbs and other curbs that Jordan did. I don't know, this car's been through it. One more thing before I want to do after we end this video off. I actually want to bring my friend Dan Spotted Model on camera and talk about how it's been to actually maintain colored PPF, because you actually did the same exact film on his Cybertruck. We have a video, I'll leave that in the link in the description below, that looked insane. Looks way better than vinyl. And the cool thing is, with paint protection film, you're not going to have these huge chunks in the film come out. I could take you outside and show you my EV6. I've got some little small pieces wrapped at the bottom there. And once, you know, a rock chip hits vinyl wrap, it just explodes off and you see the color underneath. It looks absolutely terrible. So I'm anxious to see what this does. I know it's been a lot better. We're still gonna, you know, lots of testing to do as we always do here at Out of Spec. But Eric, huge shout out to you. Huge thank you. Really appreciate all the hard work you did to our car here, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity. It was a ton of fun, and hopefully we can do more of this in the future. It's a good time.
Absolutely. All right, let's hand it over to Dan. So this is our friend Dan Spotted Model on Twitter. You've also got some YouTube accounts as well.
YouTube, TikTok.
Go follow Dan. Dan's freaking awesome. He lets us borrow his Cybertruck graciously all the time while ours has been dead and doing all of that fun stuff. So the thing I want to ask you here is, I know a lot of people are going to ask about the maintenance on this. So Eric actually came out 6 months ago or something like that now?
It was in November.
In November.
Yeah, 6 months.
To do your Cybertruck. Now, why did you end up doing PPF over vinyl? Was it just Eric that's amazing and awesome? Or did you have any more thoughts of that?
Yeah, I've had experience with both in the past, and we figured for that Cybertruck, PPF was the way to go. It lasts a lot longer, and because I've got cars with both, I know the PPF is so much easier to take care of.
So how have you been washing your Cybertruck, and what have you noticed with this film that's, you know, is it super easy to wash? Is it challenging to wash?
Yeah, so same film, Cybertruck. I will tell you, Eric actually left me with some ceramic coating, but it's been so cold this winter, I haven't even had a chance to do it. So we haven't ceramiced it, but even without it, this stuff is so hydrophobic. It is like the water just runs off. So I spray it off on the car wash, and then I take it off and I wipe it. But by the time, so if I spray it in the car wash, hand spray, drive it half a block to dry it off, it's almost dry already. So it's so simple.
Eric, I want to showcase this. If you don't mind, can you just turn the pressure washer on? I want to spray down the hood here, and I want to show you guys what this film has in it. Now, we are going to be ceramic coating this. I'm going to do Clean by Pan the Organizer's 8-year coating on this. The only reason being is Kyle wants a little bit more sheen out of this. He's trying to make it look like his Pulsar, which PPF is never going to look like a $20,000 Pulsar paint job. But let's spray some water on here and show this. Damn. Yeah, that's incredible. So from your experience, it's been like, you haven't had many bugs. It's been winter here, but I mean, mag chloride, all the nastiness, you basically take it to the car wash, hit it with some soap, rinse it off, dry it with a towel. The cool thing is you're not really worried about scratching it. So you're not having to get, you know, the 3-bucket situation out here. You just rinse it off, dry it, and it's clean.
Yeah, and even 5-6 months later, it still looks like this. So again, I've got the ceramic. I'll do it at some point, but I haven't felt the need. And yeah, bugs, anything off the front, it just rolls off.
Super cool. It's really impressive. Film technology is definitely becoming very different. I am definitely more and more interested in this whole colored PPF segment, I think, than, you know, just clear PPF. This is really, really cool technology here, and I'm genuinely blown away with the results. So I guess we'll end it off there. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate, you know, your Cybertruck looks amazing. We've seen it multiple times around. It always looks incredible. Huge shout out to Eric. If you're interested in doing DIY PPF, definitely hit this guy up. All of his info will be in the link in the description below. If they want you to come do your car, they can pay you quite a bit of money to come do it, I assume. So give Eric a call. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one soon. Bye-bye.